First off, we will talk about the packaging trends in the wine industry. We all know that wines traditionally come in glass bottles. However, glass is not particularly good for the environment and the shape of the bottle is not ideal for shipping. While glass bottles are still the most preferred packaging, many new materials are on the market. The first alternative is bag-in-box wines. The wine is sold in plastic or aluminum bags with a tap in a cardboard box. This packaging is getting increasingly popular, especially in Australia, New Zealand, and Scandinavia. Advantages include the low price and the large quantity of wine it holds. The main benefit would be the low carbon footprint. Because the rectangular boxes can be stacked seamlessly during transport, less carbon is emitted than when using glass bottles. Of course, there are some disadvantages with the packaging as well. Firstly, the lining of aluminum and plastic contains toxins that are not good for our health. If the wine is kept for too long, the toxins transfer from the plastic to the wine. Plastic bottles are another way to package wine. In the UK, the shop Marks & Spencer uses PET bottles for some of their wines. Same as the bag-in-box wine, this packaging is cheap to produce and shipping is more sustainable as well. However, for plastic bottles, it is more the weight that matters. Because glass is heavier, the carbon footprint is higher, which is not the case with light plastic bottles. Of course, the toxins in the plastic are found in PET bottles as well and are dangerous to our health. Another disadvantage would be the short shelf life. In the plastic bottle, the wine oxidizes faster and thus must be consumed quickly. The final packaging we will be looking at is the aluminum can. Cans are not very common, but might be in a few years. Today, we find that canned sparkling wine and rosé are more sold than canned still wines. An advantage of aluminum cans is of course that they can be recycled easily and have a low carbon footprint when shipping. However, canned wines have about the same reputation as wines with screw caps. For some people, it will always be a sign of low quality. This, however, is not true at all. More and more brands choose cans as their packaging.
Low ABV wine are becoming more of a trend today, and I'm going to talk about low ABV wine. Low ABV wine just became a trend in the beginning of the 21st century, and it's becoming more and more trendy as time passes. The reason for that is because among youngsters in many areas of the world, the trend, the less the better, is slowly being implemented. Less the better when it comes to fizzy drinks, it means less sugar. But when it comes to alcoholic beverages such as wine, it means less alcohol. So when it comes to wine, to fulfill the taste of some youngsters and new wine lovers in this world, wine industries are trying to produce low ABV wine that at some point broke the traditional standards. By traditional standards, low ABV wine must contain, or wine in general, must contain at least 8% of alcohol. Now it's no longer the case. Low ABV wine could be as low as 0.5% or to the extreme non-alcoholic at all, which means it doesn't contain alcohol at all, which completely breaks the tradition of the standards and not really welcomed by traditional supporters. Some of the most popular low ABV wines are the Sauvignon Blanc and the Spencer Rose. And low ABV wine, to conclude, is gradually becoming a popular trend among young wine lovers, but generally not so welcomed by traditional wine lovers, especially the ones that has broken the traditional rules. But we will see it more and more in the market today, as it has definitely have a great marketing in the bright future.
The trend we're going to talk about is e-commerce. For starters, e-commerce in the wine industry started to grow due to COVID pandemic. Wine e-commerce advocates would freely admit that until COVID, they were running a niche business. Most customers would buy wine in the closest supermarket or liquor store. The original business plan was that the e-commerce was only of interest to a more involved segment of the wine drinking population, for whom the selection of the supermarket shelf might not be sufficient and would be driven more by certain occasions, like Christmas or special dinner party. Now, wine e-commerce has become a more mainstream product in multiple markets, and its user base has expanded from 10-20% of engaged discovery-oriented wine drinkers towards the 40-50% of the population who like wine and buy it regularly, but aren't always ready to deal with all the intellectual stuff that might accompany it when going to the shop. A lot of people question the future of e-commerce. When the pandemic restrictions fade away and everything stabilizes, will it be as popular as it is now? There are many reasons to think that the e-commerce will stay with us for a long time. The post-COVID online wine buyers tend to be younger, high-spending, and mainly interested in discovery. In addition to that, more stores are starting to open their online platforms to sell their products online, as will allow them to reach a bigger customer market. And even if COVID fades away, it is always better to have a broad customer market. To conclude, the COVID gave a big push to e-commerce in the wine industry, enlarging its customer base. In addition, new generations are more likely to buy things online, which means the e-commerce will stay with us for a long time.
So I'll be talking about pigging. Pigging is a form of product recovery and sanitization that's being used in winemaking. A pig is a pipeline inspection gauge, and it's usually in the form of a very squishy foam ball that's put in the pipes of the wine production and with pressurized air goes through the entire system. And this is important because it covers all three of the aspects of sustainable development, because by doing this, it extracts all the excess wine left in the pipes. It cleans the pipes without using water. A winery could use around 1,200 to maybe 2,000 liters of water per wash, and all this uses pressurized air. From an economic standpoint, it's pretty important because it manages to save all the product that they're consuming, and also say that they're producing, and save a lot of money on water. It's also a good social tool because a lot of the workers that use this new system say that it's a lot easier to use and it's better on their conscience because they're using a lot less water in their production.